Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to share with you a thought-provoking perspective on singleness and pain. The title of our talk is The Profound Perspective on Singleness and Pain. We'll explore questions like, what happens if you stay single too long? We'll look beyond the surface and dive into the deeper roots of human hurt. I'll also introduce insights from Sadhguru that challenge us to think differently about loneliness, love, and how we process pain. So, let's get started and discover a new way to understand ourselves and our experiences. Today, I want to focus on a powerful idea from Sadhguru. Pain is not what others do to you, it's what you create within. He emphasizes that mentally, all pain originates from within ourselves. In fact, he states quite clearly that mentally, all pain is caused by you and nobody else but you. Now, this might sound surprising at first, but it's an important point. When we think about physical pain, it's often inflicted by external factors, like a stab, a hit, or an injury. These are tangible, external sources of pain that others can cause. But emotional or mental pain, which can be just as intense, is different. It's rooted in our own responses, our perceptions, and our thoughts. It's created within us, not imposed from outside. So the key takeaway here is that while physical pain might be caused by external events, the mental pain we experience is something we generate ourselves. This shifts the focus from blaming others to understanding our own role in how we experience pain. And as we explore this idea further, it ties into the overall theme that our inner world has a profound influence on how we perceive and handle pain, shaping our experience from within. When we talk about emotional pain, it's important to understand that it's always self-generated. Yes, someone might say or do something that triggers us, but the real suffering comes from how we interpret and react to those actions. This distinction is crucial because it shifts the focus from external circumstances to our inner world. For those of us who have been single for a long time, this point is especially relevant. Often, prolonged singleness isn't just about not finding the right partner. It's about carrying past hurts, betrayals, or disappointments so heavily that every new interaction, even a simple conversation, can feel threatening or overwhelming. So, what does this tell us? It means that it's not the length of time we're single that causes damage. Instead, it's how we process and handle our inner pain during that period. Recognizing this can be empowering because it puts the control back in our hands. We have the ability to change our reactions and ultimately how we experience our journey toward connection. Today, I want to talk about a common dilemma many of us face. When someone hurts us, should we run away or confront the situation? The question often comes up, if someone hurts us, even after we've tried to clarify things once, is it better to just walk away? Sadhguru's response offers some deep insights here. He suggests that if we run away from hurt, we might also end up running away from everyone. What does this mean? Essentially, avoiding pain by retreating can lead us to isolate ourselves, missing out on meaningful connections. It's a reminder that pain is a part of life, and avoiding it can prevent us from growing and forming genuine relationships. So the key takeaway is that facing our hurt, rather than fleeing from it, can help us build stronger, more authentic connections. Running away might seem like an easy way out in the moment, but it can distance us from others and from our own growth. This ties back to our overall theme. True connection and self-awareness come from embracing life's challenges, not avoiding them. If you walk away every time someone hurts you, you will end up walking away from everyone. Why is that? Because no human being is perfect. Everyone will, at some point, say or do something that causes discomfort. And if we're not willing to face that, if we keep our distance to avoid pain, it can become a psychological trap. For those who stay single for too long, this avoidance can lead to a dangerous cycle. The more they avoid emotional risk, the more intolerant they become of human imperfections. Every disagreement, instead of being just a normal part of human interaction, feels like a betrayal. Every mismatch, instead of being a simple difference, feels like rejection. Over time, these walls of self-protection, which are meant to keep us safe, can turn into a prison of isolation. And that's a critical point. because it shows how avoiding pain can actually disconnect us from meaningful relationships. It highlights the importance of facing emotional challenges rather than retreating from them entirely. Let's talk about the illusion of the perfect partner. Sadhguru humorously reminds us, if you're waiting for that perfect knight on the white horse, there is no such man. Believe me. Now, this highlights a common danger of long-term singleness, idealization. When someone remains single for a long time, it's easy to start fantasizing about a partner who's flawless, someone who will never hurt me, never misunderstand me, never disappoint me. But the reality is, such a person simply doesn't exist. Even revered figures like Krishna, as Sadhguru points out, were not perfect in everyone's eyes. Perfection, in this sense, is an illusion, and waiting for it can only lead to deeper loneliness because we're chasing something that's impossible to find. So the key takeaway here is that we need to let go of this idealized image of a perfect partner and recognize that genuine connection comes from accepting imperfection, both in ourselves and others. When should you truly walk away? Well, there are definitely moments when leaving is not just an option, but a necessity. Sadhguru emphasizes a very clear distinction here. You should leave when there is real harm involved. For example, if someone is stabbing you, shooting at you, or deliberately trying to destroy your well-being, that's a clear sign to walk away. Those are situations where your safety and health are at serious risk. However, it's equally important to recognize when the hurt is just caused by words, differences, or personality flaws. These are natural parts of human relationships. In those cases, staying and understanding that these imperfections are normal can be beneficial. This concept is especially relevant when we think about long-term singleness. Many people tend to stay single because they mistake emotional discomfort, like disagreements or friction, for actual danger. They tend to withdraw at the first sign of difficulty, instead of learning how to navigate the natural imperfections that come with human relationships. So the key takeaway here is to differentiate between real harm and the normal bumps along the way. Knowing when to stay and work through the discomfort, and when to walk away for genuine safety, is crucial. It ties back to our overall theme, understanding ourselves and our boundaries so we can foster healthier relationships, be they romantic or otherwise. Let's talk about the idea of atmosphere versus pain. Sadhguru offers a fresh perspective on when it's appropriate to leave a situation or relationship. Instead of simply leaving because we feel hurt, he suggests we should evaluate the environment's overall energy and atmosphere. If a certain environment doesn't allow us to grow, contribute, or be effective, then it makes sense to consider moving on. This isn't about running away from pain or discomfort. It's about being wise with our energy, conserving it and directing it toward places where we can truly flourish. This concept is especially relevant for single individuals. Singleness can be a powerful phase if we use it intentionally, to build a positive atmosphere of self-growth, clarity, and strength. But if our singleness is rooted in fear, avoidance, or self-protection, it can actually weaken us instead of empowering us. So the key takeaway here is to pay attention to the energy of your environment and your own inner state. Make choices that support your growth and well-being, rather than simply reacting to pain or discomfort. So here's the real consequence of staying single for too long. From this perspective, the danger isn't about becoming too independent or too set in your ways. No, the real risk lies elsewhere. It's that you might train yourself to run away from every discomfort that life throws at you. Instead of facing challenges, you might start avoiding them altogether. Another key point is the idea of waiting for that perfect partner, someone who, honestly, doesn't exist. We can get caught up in this idea of finding the ideal person, but in reality, no one is perfect, and waiting for that perfection can keep you stuck. And then there's this confusion that often happens, mistaking emotional sensitivity for wisdom. While being emotionally aware is valuable, isolating yourself because you think you're protecting your feelings can actually limit your growth and connection. Over time, all of these tendencies can lead to emotional fragility. The longer you stay in that state, avoiding discomfort, waiting for perfection, and isolating yourself, the harder it becomes to adapt when faced with the inevitable imperfections of human connection. It's a subtle but significant danger that can hinder your ability to build meaningful relationships. So here, the final insight I want to leave you with. Staying single for too long doesn't, by itself, ruin your life. What really harms us are misunderstandings, hurt feelings, running away from opportunities for growth, and expecting perfection from others. These are the pitfalls that can diminish our well-being. But the core of the matter is that the real choice isn't simply between being single or being in a relationship. It's about how we approach certain internal struggles. For example, we can choose to carry pain or to understand it. We can decide to run away from uncomfortable feelings or to learn to stay present with them. And we can chase after an impossible standard of perfection or accept the beautiful mess of human nature. When you make conscious choices in these areas, whether you're single or partnered, you remain whole, balanced, and capable of genuine love. Because ultimately, it's not about the circumstances outside of us, but about how we navigate our inner world that determines our happiness and connection.